When you eat a croissant in isolation, on its own, it's great. It's buttery, it's crisp, and it's wonderful. But when you eat a croissant and then you have like another one, maybe it's sourdough, and you compare them head to head, that's when you start to understand the nuance and the difference. And that relativity is what I framed this whole exercise around.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rothbard. Mahira Rivers, welcome to This is Taste. How are you?
I'm great, Matt. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to chat with you. This is Food Writers talking about food writing. Are pretty frequent. We took a few weeks off because of travel stuff, but we're doing this every week or two. And I love inviting friends into the studio who I respect, and I really respect your work.
Thank you so much. Totally mutual. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like you know everything there is to know in the food world. So, yeah.
Fake it. But I mean, we have a lot to cover. We have 4 stories we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about a big piece you wrote for the New York Times about croissants, which when I read it, I was like, Mahira's got to come in and talk about this because it's really, really good. And we're live on YouTube. So this is a video version of the show. So if you are listening in the audio feed, we have a YouTube clip for it and you can just like see us interacting.
Right.
I always like to start with give me one restaurant that you've been interested in, that you've enjoyed. Maybe not, though. I mean, you're a critic, so...
Yeah, I am still. Thank you. Even though I'm not necessarily a critic on record anywhere, but I do consider myself still a critic. But I mostly, like my free time these days, mostly revolves around my daughter. She's 7. So whatever eating I do, I drag her along with me. And I actually saw that Papa Rich, it's a Malaysian restaurant in Queens. They just opened in the Lower East Side. So I went with her after we went to a cat cafe, which was cute.
Beautiful.
She loves cats.
Love
we went and hung out with some cats called the Meow Parlors. Very cute. And then we went and had satay. And it was good. It was, I'd never been to Papa Rich before in Queens, and it was good. And I had the chicken rice, which was also excellent. So
that rack.
Yeah.
Papa Rich.
And the chicken curry there is solid. It's a solid chicken curry. The thing I love about the chicken rice is it's boneless, which I think I'm going to lose some credibility points here because, you know, we love to eat off the bone. It's the flavor, but I don't know, something about the ease of access. Just eat it. Their skin, it's very beautiful and tender.
What a great marketing opportunity. There's a whole faction of people, not me, who will not eat meat on the bone.
Right.
They're wrong, but you know.
I agree too. I love it on the bone, but sometimes you get specifically this dish, the chicken rice, where it's like 80% bone, and I don't know that I love chewing on a bone that much. So this was nice, but generally like the food was just great. And satay is something that it's very simple, but it's hard to do right. The seasoning was on point. The cooking was great. The peanut sauce on the side was delicious. So my daughter had it too, and she's like, I want to go to Malaysia now.
I love that.
That's how we travel, or that's how we eat. When she eats something she loves, we're like, let's go. Let's go to the country.
You'll report a story. You'll visit with her.
Right.
Well, my pick is, I was just in my hometown of Kalamazoo, Michigan this past weekend, and I'm always checking out the scene there. Mm-hmm. And I went to a great all-day cafe called Greenhouse Cafe. It's run by Mahira and Harim Gonzalez, and they're doing incredible, I'd say, really for the newness of it. I think they opened in May. Mexican breakfast. They're doing incredible chilaquiles, huevos ranchero. They have a breakfast burrito that looks great. And then they do like some great sandwiches. I ordered a hippie sandwich, sprouts and avo and great soft bread. And I think it's a great addition for Kalamazoo to have an all-day cafe on the near north side. And I just had to shout it out, my hometown.
Love that. Love a Mexican breakfast,
I know.
too.
It's one of my favorite. I mean, it is my favorite food.
Mm-hmm.
Korean is probably 1B, but Mexican for sure.
1A.
1A likely. Well, before we get into some of the work we're going to talk about, the food writing, I want to hear from you because, Sweet City has been such an incredible read. It's on Substack. You are prolific on it between all your other writing for Taste and the New York Times. It's a little different too. And tell me what drew you to writing about New York City through the lens of desserts and pastry.
Yeah. So, and thank you for recognizing its uniqueness. But I started it because I used to actually, I don't know if this is as widely known, but I used to write for Hungry City. It was a secondary restaurant review column at the Times. And in COVID, they sort of disbanded it. And I was really missing that kind of review writing. And I wasn't doing that as much anymore. I was really just pitching stories about restaurants, and pitching's tough. So I was really not writing as much as I wanted to. So I missed critiquing. I missed writing. And I saw so many people were doing this Substack thing, this newsletter thing. And I thought, here's a great opportunity for me to come out with something original. Like, no one's really reviewing sweets, and I think some people still have an issue with that. Like, can you even be a critic if you don't have a platform/editor to kind of, work with you on your work? So I think I don't know. Those are all questions that need to be answered still. But I saw an opportunity for being able to write consistently, to do something that was sort of like Hungry City, where I could go out to small businesses and talk to people. I could find food that I was really passionate about that was really great, which I think we'll talk about later, because the art of recommending something to eat is an art, and it's something we take very seriously. And so I was looking for a way to kind of put all of this thought and like all of these considerations out. Substack was there. Sweet City became the name, and I have been really enjoying. It's a lot of work to do something weekly. It's a ton of work, but I have been really enjoying connecting with people and kind of working the muscle of writing. I'm writing so much,
it's
which is
exactly
so great.
Right.
Yeah,
it's such a muscle. I mean, you have to exercise, and I launched a Substack about a month ago, and I feel like it's like pure blogging early 2000s for me. That's my take of it. Mine's definitely not as reported as yours. But what is it about the bakery, about the ice cream shop, that New Yorkers are so fascinated with? And I mean, my take is that it's obviously a barrier to entry is much lower. Your cost is lower to go in. We obviously celebrate with these dishes with croissants and cookies and ice cream and gelato. So it's like always, it's a great time to like have a little bit of fun and celebrate. But it seems like there's just this endless interest in the New York City bakery.
It's true, and you're right. I mean, it's a celebratory thing. The barrier to entry is very low. It's also somewhat of a blank canvas. I think we're so lucky in New York to have bakers and pastry chefs from all backgrounds, and they are kind of overlaying their culture, their interests, their point of view over their pastries. And so for me, I consider myself a third culture kid. So I have numerous different things that like make me who I am. And some of those are from all over the world. And so I really enjoy engaging with other restaurant people on, their unique perspective.
Yeah.
So that to me is like another great part of baking today.
I love it. And we'll get to that when we talk about your croissant story, because I think you were seeking that out. Tell me about the whole Substack of it all, because like we've talked a lot about Substack on here because it's important. That's truly why we talk about it. It's not because they're paying us money or because we want to like be cool. It's actually working. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it's how people are reading. But what about like with the membership side of it? You are operating a business. You have a lot of expenses when you're making these visits. Is it netting out into the positive?
Not for me, no.
Yeah. Thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be.
It is, absolutely. Especially, critical work is different in that you have these expenses, and you have to have them because that's sort of the line of integrity, is that you pay for everything. But I guess, Substack, it's tough to reach people on Substack. And because there's so many writers and it's so saturated already, it's really difficult to stand out, and it's really difficult to grow. And I think that what I learned very quickly is that you need to dedicate, and this is like obvious in retrospect, but you need to dedicate a fair amount of time to growing. And that requires a lot of investment in time and resources. There's this thing called Notes. I don't use it at all. And it's kind of like an ex-Twitter sort of feed.
Yeah.
And that's where you can grow because you can be reposted, or I'm not really
I've been
sure.
hitting Notes pretty hard, being honest.
Have you?
I'd wreck it. I mean, I don't really like Threads.
Yeah.
I really don't like Blue Sky. Sorry.
Yeah.
Really, really bad.
Never been on Blue
But
Sky.
Notes is
No
cool
idea.
because I think it really is a tight community. Your algo is, God, I can't believe I said algo. Algorithm is pretty good, but better. There's like more thought leadership in there.
Right. I agree. I mean, it is the the general population, I'd say, of Substack, at least in my corner of it, is a positive one. And so it is much more encouraging, and maybe even like early days Twitter, which, I'm late to sort of journalism and the writing world, so I don't really know. But it's a happier place to be for sure. It's just more work. Like, I don't have time to do my Substack and also create a personality and create a presence on Notes. And then, it's also, you got to really have perseverance, and you have to not be deterred by the numbers, and you have to not really be discouraged by what's going on around you. That takes a lot of emotional resilience too. Yeah. So it's a lot. And I've had to pick and choose my battles, and where I want to focus my time is just the work and not the promotion, which in some ways has been, something I've probably should have been done.
No,
more
I
from
don't
the
think so.
beginning.
I think that the work speaks for itself, and that's why people will subscribe. It's not necessarily if you're like cool at Notes, it's not why people are going to subscribe and pay you money. Right. On July 23rd, we are hosting quite an event at the Bell House in Brooklyn, and you can get your tickets now. Eliza and I will be joined on stage by some of the food world's most interesting figures, including Haley Catalano and Chuck Cruz, and the one and only Padma Lakshmi. We will talk about summer cooking and some of the big topics of the day. The event will also feature a live taping of Bon Appetit's Bake Club with Jesse Shepchek and Shilpa Uskokovic. That's Haley, Chuck, Shilpa, Jesse, and Padma, all appearing on the Bell House stage with Eliza and I. July 23rd is the date. Get your tickets at the Bell House website or the link in our show notes. I hope to see you there. Let's back up in your career. Really important part of your resume is, for 5 years, you were a Michelin inspector.
That's right.
The anonymous inspector who deems restaurants Bib Gourmand worthy, 1-star 2, and et cetera. And you spoke with Eliza in an episode about a year ago, talked a little bit about it, but we've never spoken about this. It's rare to have an inspector talk about the process. I think it's so important that this is a coveted awards program more than any. So I have some questions. Can you give us some Michelin dope?
I can, to an extent.
Okay.
There are NDAs and things that I cannot say, so we'll see.
Those expire. All right. No, I'm kidding. We're going to be respectful for that. Okay, so in general, Mahira, what was the training like as before you started making these anonymous visits? What kind of training process did you go through, or was there any?
There was training, and it wasn't finite. I mean, it was sort of ongoing. Yeah. So, but in the beginning, you are sent somewhere. And I think that the training program is sort of tailored to your strengths as an inspector, or maybe places where, you need more exposure, something like that. So I actually went to London for my training, and I trained with the whole team there. And it was amazing because I got to sit with people who had been doing this for 30 years. Wow. And they were showing me the ropes. And it was just a really, it was heavy. It was like, wow, I'm really stepping into this role, and I'm really kind of like part of this, lineage of inspectors. It's real. But at the same time, it was just fun because on the inside, like, we're all food nerds, and we would just be, talking about the minutia of like various dishes, and excited and super pumped to see, cuisines that weren't really playing in the fine dining world, sort of trying to take their shot and like emerging out and becoming more diverse. So that was really cool. I also went to Hong Kong, which is where I grew up and where my family still lives, which was such a treat because I got to go into restaurants in a totally different context. And that was really exciting and just very memorable. And we, as people, we would be traveling all the time for vacations, and it's never really vacation for us. It was always work at some point. So, even on trips to Japan or trips to Spain or France, and I would be able to kind of jump into a restaurant one night here or there, not for work, but it would be part of kind of our training. We could sort of add that, like, expense that sort of thing.
You could have some research meals.
In
the big question in the training, do you try to articulate what 1-star means versus Bib Gourmand, or through your report, to what you file, is it kind of then figured out later on? Like, how does that work?
I don't know. It's not really at any one point. I mean, I think it obviously happens at the meal. You have an inkling of what you're gonna, what you've seen, what you've found, and then there's just various times after that where you can, as a group, come together and sort of hash out what's what and create the final list.
Interesting. So it's a collaborative. I was a beer restaurant judge for New York for several years, and it was a similar process where everyone came together and shared notes, and then there was obviously a vote different from stars. So you guys kind of like, for the maybe 5 of you or 10 of you went to one restaurant that was being considered for 1 or 2 stars, and then coming to a conclusion of some sort in that group setting.
Sort of. I think I cannot confirm nor deny.
Great. We'll keep that NDA in mind, and I'll move on. What's your territory like when you're an inspector?
I can say that the game has changed since I was there, incredibly. So when I was there, my territory was all territories in North America.
North America, okay. So you would then set out on research trips and visit many cities.
Yeah, I was on the road 3 weeks out of every month.
No way.
The year. Yeah, I was never in New York. And when I was here, I was also still working. So I was, and that was the model when I was there at the time. It was just intensive travel. And that's why I left, because I had my daughter and she was 1 when I left. And already I was just never home. And so I personally couldn't fathom moving forward in that position. Although I know people don't leave. Usually, they get that job and they just don't leave. So they make it work.
Yeah. It's a hard job. I recognize it. I mean, no one wants to hear complaints about being a restaurant critic or Michelin inspector. And Bill Addison famously said that. I keep referring to him because he was the first to say it. And he's right. Like, no one wants to hear that. But the truth is it's a grind to do that. And I think like that mindset, all that travel and research clearly has led to Sweet City, the success of it.
Thank you. Yeah, it has, absolutely. And I will say it was that plus, my experience with Hungry City. I think that being able to write about small businesses, I'm super passionate about that. Being able to write about all types of desserts and bakeries, I just love. Like I was on the pod last year saying that when I was traveling for work, I was going to bakeries and like I couldn't really calorie-wise afford it, but I was doing it. So yeah, it merged a lot of my loves.
Zooming out, I really liked your essay about criticism, about the review, and I'm going to quote you. There is a heavy debate to be had around this dual notion of goodness. Primarily, what is the weight of context over the actual food? How do you personally grapple with this? So what's the idea of, what's the food on the plate and that and then the context, like the operator, where they come from, what they represent as a culture, et cetera?
Yeah, it's so difficult. And I don't think I have a good answer. I have a lot of questions. I'm good at asking the questions, but coming up with a sort of decisive answer is tough, because I think also in the piece, I pulled a quote from Wesley Morris, who's the New York Times culture critic. And he wrote a piece. I think we were sort of in the throes of the pandemic and there was all this cultural change happening. And I think, it was something like we aren't evaluating art on whether it's simply, good art anymore. Now we're looking, is it good? Who is it good for? And I think that is so relevant in our world as well, because it's not just about, does this plate, was it executed well? Is it correct? You're looking at the, the chef and where they've come from, and maybe the privilege that they've had to get to where they are. You're looking at a chef and their menu, and you're seeing, well, what are the obstacles that prevented them from doing something else that we're looking for? So there are all these considerations that I think are important, and I believe it makes it more interesting when you take them into account. But I also think it's a slippery slope, because you don't want the waiting to lead you too far astray, because you never want the waiting to overshadow the food.
Agree wholly. And I think one thing to keep in mind with that is with our publicity, marketing apparatus that kind of fuel buzz for restaurants, you can create a narrative about somebody's background or the schooling they had, and it can really overshadow the cuisine, the food. And we've all seen it where that really, really great story gets on all the lists, and then you visit and you're like, there are some really technically flawed dishes here.
Right.
And the food is not good.
Right.
So
yeah. And it's tricky because at some point you say, well, these stories do need to be told so that we can even the platform a little bit so that maybe the next generation has that space to then improve upon what's on the plate and bring, there's so many subtleties to this dialogue. And I get tripped up all the time because when I was working, the criteria is so much about what's on the plate.
Yeah.
But that does sort of eliminate a lot of other stuff that I think is very important. And it's important in understanding how we've gotten to where we are today.
Long conversation we have, but I want to get to some food writing. Are you ready to talk about some food writing?
I'm ready.
First story, the 21 best croissants in New York City right now.
Mm-hmm.
Written in the New York Times by yourself, Mahira Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Came out a couple weeks ago, and it's epic. You visited 110 bakeries to create this list of 21. So that's actually a lot of places that don't even get written about.
114.
Okay.
Those more count.
I like that. There you go. So 114.
Right.
You in the intro, love this line. New York City's own bakery boom is underwritten by the croissant, but which ones are actually good? I love that thesis statement. It's so right. Love them or hate them, croissants are what fuel many bakeries. It's what people look at first. They want to talk about lamination. They want to talk about the cool flavor combinations. The list is, thank God, alphabetical. Was there ever a discussion about ranking?
There was not a discussion. I think that was the precedent with some of the lists that they had done with bagels and pizzas. It was just
it's just a precedent, and I think that's a really smart move. I appreciate when you're not like putting a number on the best, because that can be really tricky. Yeah. Optics can be challenging.
Totally.
All right, so on to the list. You have some really, really great folks on here. Chelsea's Alf Bakery. You talk about a baguette and laminated dough hybrid. There's a churro croissant from Birdie in Williamsburg. Zoe Kanan of Elbow Bread on the LES uses challah dough. La Bergamotte in Chelsea, which has been open since 98. I love that you have some old school places in here. It's not just the buzzy ones. And of course, they were going to be in there because you do your research. It's worth setting out. Lafayette, Libre, and Lycée are all on the list. Those are just the L's. Right. Great year for the L's.
Strong L showing.
I loved seeing Runner and Stone on there. Yeah. I think sourdough croissants are underrated and challenging to do, and they look a little different sometimes. And I really like that. And let's talk about omissions, and I'll let you grab the mic. Omissions, to me, the big ones were La Cabra, Radio Bakery. And there are 0 Dominique Ansel croissants on this list.
0.
The daddy of the cronut did not make your list. Tell me, Mahira, about this project.
Yeah, so it was an amazing assignment from Nikita Richardson. Shout out to Nikita for that.
Come on the show. Let's have Nikita on.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, she said, "Are you down? Like, do you want to do this assignment?" And we are thinking to just give it to you rather than split it up and try and kind of piecemeal it together across a couple people. They're like, it's yours, all of it. So it's like, okay, I can do this. I can absolutely do this because I'm doing Sweet City. I have my list of bakeries. So, I started there. I plotted out my research and my field work. So what I did, which I think is very important, and I think this is maybe the source of a lot of people's criticisms of the list, or not criticisms in a
interest.
Yeah, their interest
Deep
and their
interest.
commentary. It's that when you eat a croissant in isolation on its own, it's great, right? It's buttery, it's crisp, and it's wonderful. But when you eat a croissant and then you have something next, like another one, and it's, maybe it's sourdough, or maybe there's something special about the technique or the lamination, the fermentation, cold time frame, whatever it is, and you compare them head to head, that's when you start to understand the nuance and the difference. And that relativity is what I framed this whole exercise around. So I was getting like competitive sets and I was doing them head to head. And that really kind of highlighted where certain croissants that are very, very popular fell short. And so radio, I know that this is a big one. And so I was careful like to go at the right time and give it the best shot possible. But I really did find that it was the plain butter croissant. It was a little dried out. The morning bun, it was a little underbaked. So there were some, for me, when I had them, there were flaws that I could see. And that was true. I think with Dominique Ansel, I was looking for maybe a little bit more texture. And I even went to his new bakery and I tried. So he has a croissant bao, which is like the new cronut.
Attempted new cronut, we'll
something,
say.
Which I don't know that that's actually true because it is literally just a bao, like a steamed bun in the shape of. And that was the same.
It's not lamination.
Not at all.
It's just a bun.
And no butter, except he stuffs it with red bean paste and a fat pat of French butter, which is divine. It's delicious.
Yeah, smart move.
It wasn't a croissant in my book. And then the Fan Donuts in Brooklyn, she had the same thing. It's the shape of a croissant, but it's her brioche donut dough. And so it
didn't quite make it into because like lamination is probably essential.
Yeah,
like that's part of what makes a croissant. Right. What about color? I think that's like a really interesting topic to tap into. Like some croissants are quite dark.
They are quite dark, and I find that. And there were some that were quite dark on the list. I think Supermoon goes kind of in that crispier dark side. But, if they veered too far in that direction, then they were a little bit dried out. And that's not very pleasant to eat. There was one bakery in the East Village called Le Fournil that I love. And I've been many times. Yeah. And to me, that had been sort of like a gold standard croissant in the city. And I went a few times because I was like, what's going on? Like, what happened here? And it just wasn't the same as I remembered. It was just slightly darker than
when it's too dark and it's more of a texture thing. You're like you start off by saying this is going to be dry,
right?
When you see that developed and dark. So you would, just from hearing you speak about the process, you would go out and scoop up a bunch to go and then bring them home and do some side by sides.
That's right.
That's a really excellent methodology.
I couldn't think of anything else. I mean, I thought eating it on site in the moment, would be a good thing to do for integrity, maintaining the integrity of the product. But I really felt like eating something like head to head is just like it pulls out the saltiness of one and the underdeveloped flavor of another so much better. And I
love that you recognize that timing is important. So you were trying to give them the best of their best shot. So I'm getting a sense this is not about vibes. You're not looking at the cafe. You're not looking at the coffee service. You're not looking at the rest of the case. Like when you're talking about the 22 best croissants in New York or 21, it's like the croissant.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really, really smart.
Yeah. I mean, this is, we'll talk about this later, but I put a recommendation out there and I stand by it. So if you're going to go and spend your time, spend your money, croissants are not that cheap. They're like $7 per croissant. I mean, 5 to 7. So if you're going to do that and you're going to invest your time and resources, I want it to be worth it.
It's so funny on that note of price. I saw a thread that kind of went a little viral of someone complaining about buying like 7 croissants for $35 and how that was insane. And I'm like, yo, have you been to New York?
Right.
I mean, fair if it's a different city, but listen, takes a lot of time.
It does. It's a very labor intensive thing to do. And it's very temperamental with the weather, temperature, all that sort of thing. And it's one of like 12 things that they're doing in addition. Like C&B Bakery in the East Village, like they're a sandwich spot. They do bread and breakfast sandwiches. But like the croissants are incredible. So it's just one of many different verticals. And you do have to pay for that. It's probably too much. It's probably too expensive, but it is something.
Price of butter,
reframe.
Good butter. The price in the past 18 months has gone up.
Crazy. And the Pave, the bakery in Bryant Park area, they use Bourdieu butter, which is insane. I had to call and fact check like twice. Like, are you sure it's going in the croissants and not just on the sandwich?
Oh, so they might be a loss leader for them.
Yeah, and they responded. They said, this is just our chef wants it to be the best that customers can have access to.
Did it make the list?
It did.
It did make the list.
It's a great croissant.
Yeah.
Really beautifully classic, traditional, really good.
I love it. I love the Lafayette croissant. And the great tip there is that you don't have to wait for it.
No, the Supreme, don't get the Supreme.
No.
Actively do not get it. But the traditional plain butter croissant was so textbook good. And it was beautiful. It looked great. It's really good.
Have you written about Lafayette like as a larger piece?
I have not.
It's an interesting place.
Is it?
It's like 15 years old at this point.
It is. All of his places are just perfect neighborhood restaurants.
Yeah. It's interesting. He's such a good Andrew Carmelini. Shouts to him. Next story. TikTok chefs have upstaged their clients in New York Magazine by Rob Franklin. Really interesting piece. Lots to talk about. Quote, while private chefs might typically be bound by the usual expectations of the household staff they work behind, there for the utility and otherwise unseen. This boom of interest in the day-in-the-life content is creating a new breed of creator. The gig can be good. We recognize that. You're living out in the Hamptons. You're living, in a beautiful home. You get to go to the farmers markets out there. You get to cook, dishes for 2, 3, 4 people. So I think, like, generally speaking, it can be a pretty good gig, and it's attractive, for people who want to be a creator because there's ways to hack it, which is so interesting. I love this part of the piece. As Flinken reports, this hack is real. To quote, to rent Airbnbs to pose as client kitchens, branding themselves as Hampton's private chefs until the illusion becomes reality. You're the creator of your own narrative, says one chef, Riley Meehan, about the rumors surrounding one such creator who is apparently cooking for a very well-known celebrity, self-proclaimed at least, and then created a content personality out of it. Franklin profiles Alex Baker, who cooks for Major League Baseball players and other athletes, as it become kind of an emerging creator of the private chef to TikTok. I think the biggest example of this is Meredith Hayden of Wishbone Kitchen. Meredith was quoted in the piece, and I've had Meredith in this studio, and we talked all about her journey. And she was a legitimate private chef cooking for clients, and posted her first video on a whim. Or at least recorded it a year prior and then posted it. It's a pretty interesting episode. Go back to that one. And it's interesting how Meredith has become this massive star and breakout. And I love Wishbone Kitchen and what she's been doing and building. And it's reported in the piece, I can't confirm, but reported in the piece that she has bought a $3 million house in Watermill. So, Meredith is probably has her own staff now, which good for Meredith. But I just love this idea that you can hack your way into being a creator via this private chef TikTok world. But tell me, what do you think about this idea of the private chef to TikTok flow?
I think it's so interesting. I do follow Meredith, and I have for a long time, and I've watched her kind of growth and journey over the years, and I think it's fascinating. But I also think that this is something, like, I remember reading about her journey, and she actually had interviewed to work at Bon Appetit, and she didn't get that job.
Yeah.
So this is something, and this is like a world that she's been trying to be a part of for a while. So it wasn't as happenstance as it sometimes looks on the internet when things just happen overnight for people. But I think there's some interesting parallels in the Substack world. I think there's and this is something that I've written about too. There are all these tools available to people now to go out there and try something of their own. And in that way, like, you're given a means to sort of, in my case and on Substack's case, it would be like to write for the job that you want to have. So you put your stuff out there and you say, this is who I am and what I can do. And it ends up becoming sort of like a living, breathing portfolio of clips in a way. And then you attract the work that you really want to be doing, which is bigger platform, better pay, more consistency, whatever that is. And I think, the private chef world is similar-ish in that way, where you can put out at least this hack. I mean, the hack is drawing parallels in my mind. I think the whole idea of, the person who typically was kind of behind the scenes now stepping out and becoming the main character is I think in the New Yorker, there was that piece that the writer, I think his name's Kyle, he wrote about main character, like, it's giving main character energy. And I think we're in that era now. And now also there's a cult of personality where we're just all kind of wanting to be our own boss and wanting people to sort of like see us for who we are and like give us, opportunities based on that. So it's a huge cultural shift. It's fun. I think but like I said earlier, it's rooted in a lot of, it's not all just random. Like I'd say you're not going to make it overnight. Like, she spent years kind of building her, and she went to culinary school and she was trying to get into media. And it reminds me even of Emily Mariko, if you remember her. That was like eons ago, many eras ago on the internet. But she had a YouTube channel for a long time, and then she broke out. So it wasn't all random.
Love the piece, and I agree. Like growth hacks are what they are. They're hacks, but they don't really create longevity.
Right.
In many ways, you might get a sugar rush of followers, but it's not sustainable. And Meredith is a great example of spending years in the industry working in kitchens and then posting it on a whim, and then kind of
Right.
But also, there's like you have to have talent on camera.
Totally.
It really has to like shine through, and she has that.
Right.
Great piece, New York Magazine. I love that one. Next one. Okay, we were emailing and exchanging ideas to what to talk about. You mentioned a piece that I wrote, and so I appreciate that. Thank you. And so we're going to talk about it because I think it actually has relevance. You're very plugged into this topic too. You asked for my restaurant recommendation. Now, seriously, go to the restaurant.
Right.
It is on my Substack. Plug to that. Food Time with Matt Rodpard. And what I wanted to write about was simply this. You know, we have this world where when you're traveling or just like in your daily life, we want restaurant recommendations. We seek them out from all places. But as members of the media, I host a podcast and write. You write and have a great Substack, so you're always getting hit up. And I feel like I am happy to do it, and I believe you are too. I'm happy to give recommendations. I'm happy to help people find their way. But oftentimes when we give these recommendations, they are not taken. And I think I try to analyze in this piece, like, why? Well, I think there's a couple reasons. I think people end up, like, if you're giving London recs, you land in London and you're not, like, a professional like yourself, maybe myself too, where you kind of, like, make a plan and you have a Google map and you're like, here's where my hotel is, here's the walk, here's the drive. Some people just get overwhelmed. They also sometimes just don't want to, like, think about restaurants. They like, have all these recs, but they're like, okay, we're going to go do all this other stuff. Fair enough. I think people sometimes want to make their own discoveries, which I think is a big part. People don't necessarily want to take the recs from their friends, but they're like, I want to find that new place. I want to like discover it. And that's fair. I write about my process. When I'm asked for a recommendation, I always ask, like, what do you want? When someone says, I don't care, I always push them because it's important to get the details. Party, size, neighborhood, how many meals you want to have that day, et cetera, et cetera. I read all about that. I mean, for the record, I must say, my New York City tourist recs are always PJ Clark's, Abrazo, Emilio's Bellado, Sam's Restaurant, and Peking Duck House, because I think when you visit New York, there are all these great new restaurants, but you need a piece of classic New York for that visit. So I read about that. And really, bottom line is you should take our advice. You should take all of those names we give you, put it into a Google map, hit the Resi, reserve button, book those tables, get on the wait lists. Why? Because in these cities that we love to travel to, New York, Barcelona, Rome, London, there are so many shitty restaurants. So many. And some of them look really cool. Some of them look like they will be fun. They will be really intimate. They will be local. They will have all these things that we seek as tourists. But when you ask a local or somebody who has traveled and written about the city, as we both have, we see through that. And we are trying to give you recommendations that are not that have gone beyond the marketing and the shine for a great restaurant experience. Mahira, what do you think about this when you're asked a recommendation? Do you go through a similar math? Do you have your own process of giving recommendations?
I do. And it was especially frustrating. I think working at Michelin, we, like maybe my family would say we're coming into town or take us somewhere, or I would give them suggestions and then they wouldn't listen. I'm like, this is literally my job. And it's a good job and you're still not taking my recs. But I think what I've come to terms with now is just, I think what I loved about your piece was that you need to ask questions about what people want, because I don't think people, unless they have articulated that, they're not going to receive the recommendations. And
Agreed.
I think, for example, for bakeries, I want to send people to Bed-Stuy. There is a Southern layer cake place there, Doc's Cake Shop, and it's incredible. It's my favorite cake shop in the city, but it's bar. And if you're coming into town, do you want to leave Manhattan? And if you don't, be real. Tell me you don't want to leave Manhattan, and I will give you the 3 places in the middle of the city where I think you should go. I want to send people to Harlem to go to Tres Leches Cafe. It's the best Tres Leches in the city. And I get it for my husband for his birthday every year. He's Puerto Rican and he's got, high standards. So these are the places that I would send people to, but you have to know what they're open to doing. And a lot of the times, I will travel anywhere for food. No matter how far I have to go, I will go. But not everyone is willing to do that. They kind of want convenience. they want a mix of like convenience and vibe and locality and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but when they're hardcore into having a great meal, they have to like sacrifice some of those things. And that's
true.
And that's the sussing through it. Are you meeting an old friend to catch up? Maybe you want to go to a cool place, hit it for the gram, but like you're not going to actually care about the food.
Right.
You're going to care about the ketchup, which I love. We all love having a ketchup and not thinking about the food. So those questions. Do you feel hurt when you're not taken up on your recs?
I mean, sometimes annoyed. Like, yeah, I did take time to do that for you. I did, I spent real time to think about what you would like as a person and what you're looking for. And if you're not going to listen to me, then why? Why did I do that?
I also press people to send me a follow-up.
Right. Did you go? Did you like it?
Did you go? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
Right.
It has happened where I've given a rack and they didn't like it. And obviously, I'm like, tell me. Especially if it's like not New York or LA, a place I go a lot. Like if it's London, I go once a year or whatever. I don't know everything. I just have some spots and I've done my own research. So I'm trying to pass it along.
Right. And restaurants change and
that too.
Chefs change. And it's evolving. It's dynamic. So
thank you for having that conversation.
Yeah.
I think I got a lot of notes when I wrote that on Substack. And from fellow writers some of them were just like, I just fucking hate it. I'm pissed. People don't take it. I'm like, it's not really an ego thing. It's just like, do yourself a favor and take the rec.
And it's time. Like our time is valuable.
Yeah,
and
it's true. Yeah. Very true. Last piece I want to talk about. It's a short but really, really good one. It was written by Andrea Hernandez in her great Substack Snack Shot. And it was the lead story in a recent post, Liquid Death from Hardcore to Cringe. Andrea writes about how Liquid Death is maybe losing its way. This has been one of the buzziest brands in ready to drink in the world of CPG, the RTD, lots of acronyms, but that's really what it is. It's a buzzy brand that was marketed on edge and creativity, all kind of like with these darker, deathier motifs. And I think like they had a lot of funding. Andrea reports that they raised $100 million at a $1 billion valuation a few years back, and everyone was like, Liquid Death is the future. And now their investors have been quite quiet, and they're looking to raise an additional $20 million and extend credit. And I think the big crux around this question is, have they lost their way? Is this recent collaboration, which I have some thoughts on, Serial Criminal, which is, they couldn't get Serial Killer, obviously, for some reasons. And it's a collab with Post Fruity Pebbles. I can deduce without trying the product that they're doing a sparkling water with color and possible fruity flavors. But clearly they're doing something with Post and getting a little bit of that big food money, or at least some kind of cooperative marketing spend to get their brand out there. Sounds horrible, like something I would never drink. I think cereal collabs can be really sketchy. This one seems that way. But I'm really curious about your thoughts on Liquid Death, if you've followed this story at all. I think Andrea is really smart to point out that this is a company built mostly on brand. It's sparkling water. It's good sparkling water, but no one really knows where it's coming from. It's not like mineral water from a source. They're just selling water. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's water. Liquid Death. It's really intense sounding. It's just a little bit, I guess, like shock value, which after I read that, what I could think of is just, do people care anymore what things taste like?
Yeah.
Are we really invested in the actual taste of things? Because it does feel like this collab is maybe a last-ditch effort to shock and awe more people, or at least tug at some sort of like nostalgic heartstring, or I don't know. It's like a merger of lots of different things, but none of it feels very far-sighted to me. It is sort of like a splash in the pan or a flash in the pan.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if you're going to do a collab with Big Food, do like Reese's, man. Just like go all the way and just do a Reese's water. I just think the cereal collabs can be really torched and not great. And honestly, Andrea is skeptical of it. I'm pulling for them. Obviously, I think I'm really optimistic about water in general. And I know this isn't spring water, but I think water is an interesting category in the NA world. We've covered it a lot on the show. But I still like their sparkling water. I buy it at the grocery store. It's quite nice.
Do you? I've never had it before.
Yeah.
Is it like a good fine bubble?
Yeah, it's a nice bubble. So it's not a topo hardcore, which I like at times, but can be too much for me.
Yeah.
yeah, but I've enjoyed their carbonation, their forced carbonation. It's really, really good. Because it's not naturally spring. It's definitely forced carbonated. Fact check me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they don't put like the natural spring this water comes from. This is truly seltzer. So, but I think Andrea, just to shout her out, she's doing great work covering the industry, and this was a good topic.
Totally, I agree. I love her work.
Well, that's our writing for today. We'll be back again soon with another journalist to talk about some writing, but I want to close with a couple segments. The first is the segment I feel like I'm going to keep asking because Graydon Carter is still in the news and they're still talking about the rates he was paying his writers in the 90s and in the 80s. I was at a dinner recently and I sat next to somebody whose parents worked at Vanity Fair in the 90s. That's all I'm going to say. And it was interesting to share some notes about this era. And I was like, we do this podcast. We talk about Graydon Carter in the 90s. So anyways, in 1997, if Graydon Carter was on the phone and you were pitching him a story, and the assumption is that, you know, you have this kind of unlimited budget. You're getting paid $400,000, $500,000 a year to write 2 stories. But really dig into it. And we love the journalism that came out of Vanity Fair in the 90s. It was really, really terrific work, and they clearly resourced. Mahira, what would your story be?
So I am deeply fascinated by America's soft power across the world.
Yeah.
And I think using food as sort of a tool to, pull people into this idea of America, or this ideal of America. So fascinating to me because I grew up in Hong Kong, and I went to an American school, and I was exposed to a lot of that. So I would pitch a global study, around the world study of, a few key cities and countries where maybe this was very prevalent, and just study the impact or research the impact of, American cuisine, exported American cuisine, a form of soft power, on the local culture, and report back.
I love that. I think you could definitely find American soft power in places like Japan and China.
Totally, right.
In Korea.
Right.
But also Korea, on the flip side, their soft power is probably at its height right now.
Totally.
Korea's soft power is incredible.
I agree. And I personally am just like, why haven't we seen an equivalent, coming out of China? I feel like it is a huge opportunity for a country with an incredible amount of history and diversity within its cuisine. I'm like, this is a thing that they could be done. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's working in the reverse way.
Very monocle of you to talk about soft power. I feel that great publication has always been talking about soft power around the globe. But food is a great soft power, and we've seen it all over. But like America's influence in unique places would be very cool. I love that idea. That's great. Great. And pick it up. This is Taste Fest. Guess about the Sharing Taste. So to close this interview, here's a Fast and Furious Taste Check Media Edition. Are you ready?
I am ready.
What is the first thing you read in the morning, and where did you read it?
This is a very unoriginal answer. I mean, I read the news in bed as soon as I wake up.
Okay, so how do you read it?
On my phone.
Like phone, you're not getting that like paper to bed.
No, I have not received a newspaper to my home in years.
What where are you going? Like, what are the apps? Is it Inbox? Is it newsletter?
It's Inbox. It's mostly, legacy media. I get the Times morning edition. I get the Wall Street Journal. I subscribe to like Chalkbeat, which is like the education newsletter for my daughter's school. And I get Gothamist. Love local journalism.
Me too.
So I think these are my main ones.
So what do you read on actual paper?
Nothing.
Really?
I read books. I definitely go to the library, and I don't know if this is a good thing as a writer or not, but like I read from the library. I don't buy a lot of books.
No,
I don't have a lot of space. So, I feel like I'm not supporting financially, the writers and authors, but on the other hand, I'm still reading all the time. I am supporting the library. But
yeah, I mean, you are recording this in Penguin Random House, so our business is truly selling books,
right?
But I think libraries are incredible things, and supporting libraries is also very important.
Yeah.
And telling your friends about books you like.
Yes,
Maybe
absolutely.
they'll buy them.
Right.
Or, in some way read them. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite food publication growing up?
So I grew up in Hong Kong, and media was very different there. I did not grow up with a lot of, like PBS was not really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up with anything that is here. I didn't grow up with a lot of things. But I will say that my mom used to subscribe to some Australian publications. I think Women's Day was one of them, or Women's is Australian, and a lot of our birthday cakes came from there.
Cool.
And then when I moved to the States, Food and Wine was a big one for me. I loved Food and Wine. Savor was really nice, travel writing, travel food writing. And then later on, Lucky Peach. I mean, that's what I read and was like, yes, this is the food writing that resonates, and I want to write like that, and I want to do stuff like that.
Did you ever write for Lucky Beach?
Oh. I was at Michelin, and I remember thinking, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to pitch them, and this is going to be my foray. But they closed. They shuttered right before I left, so I never had that opportunity.
Yeah. So while you were doing Michelin, what kind of writing were you doing?
I wasn't writing at Michelin. It was inspection, and it was critiquing, and it was whatever the analysis was. But there was very little. I mean, I was writing in my way, which I think I was meant to be a writer, but that wasn't required of me at the job. I didn't have to do all of that.
Let's talk about food TV growing up. Was there anything in Hong Kong on the TV that was a cooking show?
Yeah. So we didn't have we had 2 English language channels, TVB Pearl and ATV, ATV World. And so we would kind of get what we got. And we got Yan Can Cook, which I loved so much as a child. So I'd say that was probably my best TV show. But my family, we were food people.
Yeah.
We sat and watched food shows at prime time. So it was Yan also, Yan Can Cook.
It's a great one. Where are you at with TikTok, Instagram Reels, social video right now?
Instagram, no, I really just use it for work. I've never ever posted what is it? The text version?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thread. I've never posted a thread. Yeah. And I don't use X anymore. I don't really have time to sit and watch YouTubes. But TikTok is great. I burn hours on TikTok. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Not unfortunately. It's a great place.
I don't know. I think lately I've realized wow, I could have read many more books had I been just put the phone down.
Yeah.
And I think I'm trying to course correct.
What do you think about those backseat reviews, those fast food reviews, or just people, on TikTok doing their hot takes about bakeries in general?
I listen to them and I see what the word is just so that I know. But I kind of at this point am over it. But, it's also reframing it. I don't roll my eyes as much anymore. I just understand what it is. It's marketing. It's marketing for the restaurant. And so at that point, you just absorb it differently.
Yeah.
It's not so rage baiting anymore.
I love that. You're open-hearted about some of these reviewers and the way that they maybe are being paid by the restaurant for marketing purposes. Perhaps, maybe. I've seen some emails fly about rates to visit a restaurant.
Or even if it's free, right? You feel like you're doing them a service. It's sort of like a mutual transaction.
Oh, I mean, I love that. I mean, if you're reviewing a restaurant even positively or negatively, it doesn't matter. But if you're showing up, doing the work yourself, and presenting it on a TikTok or a reel versus writing a piece, I think that's great. So to be clear.
Right.
Where do you want to be in 5 years?
In 5 years, I think, I like what I do now. I really do. I just wish it was more consistent. I think any freelancer would say consistency is tough to find, and I would just love to have more consistency. I think also projects that maybe have longer time frames, bigger stories, books. I'm super, that's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
I want to get into writing a book, children's book maybe.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good luck to that.
Thank you.
Well, you write for Taste, you write features, you also write every month a newsletter on our Friday newsletter.
That's right.
I love when you do that. Well, Mahira, this has been a lot of fun.
Same, yeah.
I appreciate you for joining us. Food writers talking about food writing. Come back again.
Yeah, I would love to.
I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Matt.
This is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.